Welcome back to the channel. It's the TurboVelo Tuesday night crit in Richardson, Texas. I'm on the Cheney Windows and Doors cycling team, which is a UCI professional team. I'm not on the professional team, I'm on the club team. And there we have an attack right from the beginning. This is the Masters 40 plus crit, cats 1 through 4. And I was in the top 10 call out, all of us on the front row. This is the second race of the third series. So the way this crit is set up, you have 4 crits in a row that are part of one series, and the person with the most points out of those 4 races is the winner of that particular series. So we're in race number 2 of the third series, and as it is, our teammate is number 1. And that teammate is in the red jersey, just 2 bikes ahead of me. That's Andy, and on the very front is Ryan, also my teammate. And I'm on the wheel of one of our rivals here. I believe this is John Bain on the Cadence cycling team. So if you guys have been following this channel, you know that I've done the Tuesday night crit many times. And one thing that's kind of exciting about the Tuesday night crit is that it might be now the biggest weeknight crit in the country, meaning that there are more racers in races in this crit than perhaps any other crit in the country. I think that's pretty cool. You kind of think of your own scene as just being your own scene, but you don't realize how lucky you are to have your own scene. So let's talk a little bit about the race here. The 2 guys went off the front immediately. So that was Chad on Cadence. So Cadence is this, the kit right in front of me, John Bain's kit here, and my teammate Adam. So we actually have 5 of us in this race today on our team, on the Cheney Windows and Doors team, and we're trying to help our teammate here, Andy, get as high place as possible, hopefully win the race, and accumulate more points. So you get, I think, 10 points for first and 7 points for second. So pretty big drop off between first and second. So if we can get him first, great. Second, great as well. So you might wonder, why isn't anyone chasing? 2 guys off the front. Well, the person that needs to be chasing is someone from a different team that is not part of Cheney and not part of Cadence. So actually, Chad, the guy on Cadence, who's off the front with teammate Adam, is 3rd in the standings based on the race last week. So this is not really what we want, which is to have Chad finish ahead of Andy. So we can see that there's finally some work being done to chase back, but not an organized effort with guys getting on the front and pulling, but rather surging or attacking, trying to bridge to get to the breakaway. So I guess that's one thing everyone has to think of when they're deciding what to do about bringing back a break is, do you try to bridge to it, or do you just try to motor on the front and bring the group to it? Depends on your goals here. But my goal here is to mark these guys. So at the beginning of the race, when Adam went off with Chad, I thought, Chad, we don't want him to have a successful breakaway. And so I kind of took my lead from Ryan, who got on the front and just started pulling steady on the front. Ryan wasn't pulling hard enough to bring back the group to the breakaway, but he was on the front working a little bit and allowing the break to go away, but going fast enough that it dissuades, some attacks perhaps. I would say at this point we're going super slow and it's not dissuading any kind of attack. So the 2 guys that went off the front didn't bridge, didn't make it, and we're now back to the same status quo in terms of who is going to pull to get up to the front. They're pretty far up there now. So Carlos Uranga of Tenzing got 2nd in the last race, so he's another guy we have to watch out for in this particular crit as someone that could challenge for the leader's jersey in the overall series. That's Tomer on the front pulling. He's on, I think they call it the no-name or unnamed team. Anyway, he's doing a little bit of pulling, and he's one of the guys, theoretically, that's responsible for bringing this back. Not him in particular, but everyone who's not represented in the breakaway. Today I was out on a group ride, and a guy, we're talking about racing a little bit at the gas station as we were waiting, and he said this, he said, what about the practice crit in Richardson? And I said, it's not a practice crit. It's a USAC licensed crit, that requires a license, and it's real racing. You need a license. You get points, upgrade points, and so forth. It's not a bunch of guys riding laps in a random park with no officials, no timing, no results, etc., which is what you see on the internet sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with that, but this is a real crit, and this is real racing, and it's really fun. I was really excited about this race because I actually have a role to play in this race, a support role. And again, we see another acceleration here. Let's talk a little bit about the wind. The wind's a little bit unusual for today in that it's a southeast wind, which means it's headwind right now. And so as we're going in that last little stretch there, it's a bit of a cross headwind. Here we're getting a little bit of a cross headwind coming from our right. Hence riders going over to the left. So wind plays a big role in this particular crit because of how open the layout is and how open the lane is. The wind there's nothing to block the wind as it blows. This wasn't a particularly windy day, but of course the wind did play some role. So the way the wind works here in this particular crit, of course you want to get sheltered if you can, if that's your strategy to conserve energy. But on windier days, it's more likely that a crit will be successful. On days with less wind, it's more likely that it'll be a sprint finish. And I think the reason for that is the average speed of the group goes up when it's a less windy day. Therefore, it makes it harder for guys to sustain the amount of power off the front that is required to finish ahead of the group. So I don't know what we averaged in this crit. It might be like 26 miles an hour or something like that. This is only a 30-minute crit, by the way, so it's not very long. But you need to average, two guys off the front, they need to average 26 miles per hour to stay off the front. In the A race, they may have to average 28 miles per hour to stay off the front. However, when it's windy, the group goes slower, there's less people to pull into the wind. So here we are headed, kind of into a little cross headwind here and so forth. So I guess what? There's one guy up ahead trying to make trying to bridge. And is this, what team is this on the front here? Is that TurboVelo? I'm not sure. Okay, so there on the right-hand side is one of our rivals. That was John Bain that did a little effort there, but Andy, being attentive, is right on John Bain's wheel. John Bain would be one of the favorites in this race. He didn't race last week, so he's not in the points, but he's a guy that's won countless crits at the A level, i.e. Cat 1 level, and numerous wins, I think, at the Fair Park crit, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. So we have to watch out for him. Now he has a teammate up the road. Here we see Tomer in the no-name bright kit going off the front. Tomer got a little bit salty here. Tomer was very upset with the group for not chasing harder. I don't know exactly who he is upset with, because Cadence and Cheney are probably not going to chase their own teammates. But he's off the front again. So there's Andrew on the left. He just went by. He's on the Torchy's RBM team. And he's always someone that's really cagey, and going into this race, I knew he'd be somebody that want to get into the break, want to attack. That's his MO. I guess here would be having a cross tail, so it gets a little bit faster. Little bit of an uphill here. Just tiny bit uphill when you make through that turn, and then it's really flat here. Had so much to talk about. Now what did I just yell out? Oh, I said Uranga. So I thought Uranga was going to attack, but he was just moving up. Uranga's number 2 in points right now. We used to be teammates on pack. However, if you're too far back, and there's a move and you miss it, then that's not good. So he needs to move up, and that's exactly what he did. I'm over to the right because there's more shelter, the cross headwind, and yeah. So the person that we're trying to protect, Andy, is pretty far up there. He's really strong and really fit, and he's like one of those guys that has like $1 million in his pocket. He can do a lot of things in terms of doing work in the race and still not be out of the action, not burn all his matches. He has a lot of matches to burn. He's got a whole match book. So he's up near the front, and I'm not really in a great position to assist. And that's going to be, something I have to think about in this race. I'll talk a little bit about what we thought my role might be going into the race. I don't think this is giving away any tremendous secrets here, but I was going to be assigned to do an early lead out on the last lap if it came down to a bunch sprint. So that's in the back of my mind at this point, which is I need to be ready for that. By the way, our team has 2 different colored kits. Last year's kit and this year's kit. Some of us are in last year's kit. Some are in this year's kit. 2 of us. It's a long story, but just if there's some confusion about the kit color, that's the reason. It's not that the people, it's not like we were too cheap to get this year's kit. It's just availability. So that's Ryan on, you can't really see him, it's blocked right here, but he's on the left in the sort of like maroon yellow striped kit. He's like 3 riders ahead of me. Anyway, so he's on my team, and then I'm in a white colored kit, and 2 of our other racers are also in white colored kits, which is not the same as the Cadence kit, FYI. So anyway, if you're part of the local scene here and you're like getting confused about the kit colors, that's the reason. Really grippy concrete here, so that's nice. Especially you don't want to go crashing into those metal barriers there. Anyway, I would say it's a lot of fun to race when you have talented, smart teammates who are committed to a team goal. So it's one thing to race by yourself and to have a goal for yourself and use that kind of strategy to try and win for yourself or do whatever your goal is. And it's a little bit different when you have a team goal. And so the thing I like about having team goals is as me, as a racer, there's 10 ways to win. In other words, if I do my job well, that feels like a win. If I help my teammate, that feels like a win. If I don't have to actually win the race to win. So I think it makes it a lot more fun. It's a lot more dynamic. You have to be thinking on the fly. You have to be thinking about what your teammates could be thinking. You have to be thinking about what your opponents might be thinking. So that makes it a lot of fun. Last year, when I raced a couple of weeks in this crit, I started quite late. I think it was July. I didn't race before July. Vacation stuff, and I was also out of shape. So here's Adam coming back to us on the right side in the white kit, stripes there. He was in the breakaway. He was the one that marked Chad, and they're caught. That means Chad and Adam are caught. So this is good for us, very good, because Chad is the biggest point threat to us now. That means he had to expend a lot of energy to be in that breakaway, and that's certainly going to harm his chances, for example, to be in a second breakaway. So Adam did a great job for the team to get into that breakaway with him, to allow the rest of us to rest and not have to chase the break. giving the responsibility of others to chase the break. And, I don't know how Adam played it per se in the break. There's Chad on the right, which I'm just passing him here. This is my teammate Ryan on the right. He's also the promoter of the crit. And, in terms of Adam, is he giving it full beans in the breakaway attempt, or is he subtly making Chad work a little bit more, but still giving Chad the incentive to want to have the break be successful? So I'm not sure if Chad was looking out for his own chances there. In terms of that immediate attack at the beginning of the race, setting things up for his teammate, in terms of the sprint chances at the end, or if he was hoping to get away. Oh, by the way, that's Jorge with the red helmet on the right with the white. He's also a teammate. He just joined the team that day. So it's his first race with us. He's a 60-plus racer, but don't let that fool you. He's got an engine. He used to be the promoter for this crit, for the Tuesday night crit before Ryan. So another savvy, smart racer. I was talking to one of my friends on the pop ride this week, and I mentioned to him that Jorge's on my team now. And that guy was like, that guy knows how to handle a bike. So I've always, in racing against Jorge, found him to be a very savvy racer, and he knows where to place himself. I have zero doubt about that. So we have another attack. I guess we have a couple of guys off the front, and this is where, what's going to be the next kind of breakaway. Is there going to be another breakaway? Will something get away? Now, there are some guys here, the only way they can really win or place is in a breakaway, because they're not going to place or win in a sprint. So their best chances are to attack if that's the goal, but there may be alternative goals as well in terms of doing it for the team. So getting into a break to help your team and changing the dynamics of who's responsible for chasing that break down. But I need to be further to the front, and I'm not. And one way to determine how much gas I have in the tank is to look at that bottom left number that says MPA, maximum power available. That's an exert metric. You can look up exert if you want online. I won't go into all the details, but it basically means how much gas do I have in the tank. And the lower that number gets, the less gas I have in my tank. The more time I spend above FTP, that number will go down. Time spent below FTP, it will raise to the top, kind of like a pail of water with a hole in it. When you work hard, water drains out the hole. When you're not working hard, you have a stopper in the hole and the thing fills back up. So, of course, it'd be a lot better if I knew actually what was happening out front. So we see one guy off the front there. I can't remember who it was, though. I wonder if that's the cadence rider. I'm not sure. This is sort of like that dynamic part of the race where everyone's on edge. You've got to be ready to go immediately. You've got to be in good position, and you need to be thinking about the strategy and who to mark, what to let go, what not to let go. What are your teammates going to do? Is someone from your team going to mark it? Are you responsible for marking it? Is someone from the back going to attack and you need to jump on their wheel? To think about your responsibility here. But sometimes we'll let a guy go off the front, especially if we don't think he's a threat, either for winning or for the team, for the series. We let him go and let him hang out there. And just like in the Tour de France, right? When they have a breakaway, they don't always try to bring back the breakaway. They just try to control the breakaway. So we could maintain a gap of to a couple of riders that we know that we can bring back, but it also dissuades other people from going forward. Sometimes, encourage people to go forward. They might want to join the guys up there. But they also know that if they try to bridge up, they may end up pulling everyone to that break, and they have to decide whether that's a good idea or not. I just saw Jimmy on Cadence move up on the left. You can't see him right now, but he's a workhorse for the Cheney team, not the Cheney team, the Cadence team, and he will just, give it all in terms of getting on the front to help his team out. So the fact that he moved out indicates to me that the guy off the front is probably not Cadence. However, another strategy that Jimmy uses is when he has a teammate off the front, he will go to the front, but with the purpose of keeping it fast, but just slower than his teammate, so that a break can get extended, but fast enough that nobody really wants to attack, because it's hard enough to just hold on in the draft. Oh, that's Jason talking to me now. I don't know if I'll have the volume high enough. He said, hey Arthur, is that you in the break? And I said no. Well, Adam and I both have red colored frames, so there, Adam's here on the left moving up. But no, that was not me in the break. Not sure that I could have actually held on to Chad's wheel to stay in the break. Right now, just staying in the draft, conserving energy. So we just went through turn 4. We're going through the finish line in just a few seconds, just to orient you to the corners and the strategies. So this is kind of like a oval with a chicane on the backside, and we're coming up to turn 1 pretty soon. So we, it's almost like it's kind of like a 4-turn crit, but it's also like a no-turn crit because it's more like a oval than 90-degree turn. So we're calling this turn 1, and a little bit of the complexity of turn 1 is this dip. Can sort of unsettle your wheel a little bit if you're going too fast. And then coming up here after the end of this would be the turn 2. So right now I'm in the wind. I'm unnecessarily using energy by not being in any kind of draft, but that's the whole point. The guys on the front are guttering and moved over to the right, and they're limiting the draft for everyone behind them, so I need to move up and get some better position. This is turn 2, so the sheltered side is going to be to the left. Everyone to the left will be more sheltered from the wind, and so the guttered side is to the right. See Adam, my teammate on the far right, so he's moving up in the gutter basically because there's more room there to move up. There's no room to move up on the left. And me moving over to the right side as well to try to make up a few places and get closer to the front. So I'm thinking right now, I'm way too far back. I'm not even involved in the race. I can't react to anything, which could be fine in some circumstances where, I don't care if a break gets away for my own purpose or my team's purpose, but I'm saving energy and I'll move up later. But, every time you have in a bad position, it's never a huge advantage. It's just not. So it's much better to be in the top 15. Impressive how many racers we have for a Masters crit weeknight. The turnout for the other categories too has been amazing, like the C crit, the B crit, 60 or 70 racers per. So I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but the biggest it's ever been for the Tuesday night crit. Looks like we have a little bit of a reshuffling here. My teammate Ryan's talking to Andy, our race leader, in the red jersey. He's wearing the red jersey, the Whalen team, the Whalen Leaders jersey, sponsored by Whalen Law, and as his designation of being the leader. And Ryan's very strategic and savvy, and I'm sure he's telling Andrew something related to strategy in the race. So how far into this are we? We're getting pretty close to the end here. So remember, I have a role to do a lead out, so I can't be in the very back if we get to the last lap. And as you get closer to the end of the race, and I wasn't looking at the cards in the video, I was looking at the cards during the race, but you need to be in good position when it matters. So you can see here there's an attack, another attack, but not really a huge reaction here. It's going to be really hard for one or two guys to hold off the entire group when the race is almost over. So I don't know if we're on the second to last lap or third to last lap at this point. But we're not going all out. We're not all strung out in single file. Guys look fairly relaxed on their bikes. So my MPA is at 1230, spending a few watts here to move up. Yeah, so it must be one lap to go, I think, after this. And I'm thinking I need to be in better position and I need to use some energy to move up. Okay, so we got the cadence train that's just behind my teammate Adam. So I hear Ryan yelling behind me, "Adam, off!" He wants Adam to get off the front. He wants to give the responsibility of chasing. There's one guy ahead here. He wants the responsibility for chasing to go to cadence and not us. But here I know that I'm supposed to take our lead out from turn 1 to turn 2. And turn 1's at the end of this straight. And I didn't know exactly what to do, but I thought, what the heck. I'm just going to accelerate and go to the front. And hopefully Ryan gets on my wheel, who's supposed to get on my wheel, my teammate, and our lead out will be effective. So hopefully. Going 34 miles per hour through that turn. Felt my wheel skittering a little bit through that dip, and just going as hard as I can here. I had to use some energy to even get to the front, and now I'm using energy to be on the front. And I can't say that it was some amazing, interval that will blow anyone out of the water, but it's all I had in the tank. It was an exert breakthrough for me in terms of showing the exert metrics that this is as hard as I could go, and it it updates my FTP to a little bit higher. So that's all I had. And we see here that there's the cadence train, two guys, Brent leading out John Bain. John Bain would be one of the favorites to win in a sprint, and I'm all out of gas letting the guys go. So if you guys want to, I'm going to put the link to a video for Brent. He's the guy doing the lead out right now for cadence, and of course he has a video, and you can see what happens in that video in terms of the sprint finish. So I'll describe it. Brent did this tremendously powerful lead out. Brent was the one that had to get onto my wheel, follow me, and then he does this lead out through turn 3 and almost to the final turn, turn 4. We're just going through the chicane. These aren't actual turns. And then Bain takes off. Ryan is on his wheel. Andy is to the right of Ryan's wheel. And Andrew/Andy powered forward and got second place to John Bain. So kind of a late move on his part as I was watching to my left. And then really cool also was Jorge got third place. So the new addition to our team, racing age 62 on the results. So not a spring chicken there. He also was able to move up in the sprint and got on the podium as well. So we got second and third. Cadence got first place with John Bain, who didn't race last week. He gets 10 points for that win. Andy gets 7 points for getting second place, so he's at the top of the standings with 17 points, and Jorge is now third in the standings with John Bain being second in the standings with the 10 points he got for today's win. So it was an excellent result for the team, and I don't know, I had a little bit of back and forth about whether what I did was the right thing there on the last lap. I don't think it wasn't wrong. It wasn't decisive. It wasn't really anything. It just made the race play out in a certain way, and who knows how it would have played out if I had waited or done something different. Other possible things would have been for me to wait for longer to do the lead out, or even maybe sit in and let Cadence do the lead out. There could have been a number of different possibilities. Would Cadence have gone super hard? They only had the one person in the front doing the lead out, Brent. I don't know. Would there have been additional attacks from the other teams if we were going too slow? There's a million different possibilities, but at the end of the day, we got the result we wanted, which was second and third place for the team, which is really cool. So it was really cool to have this result for our team. Completely gassed, crossing the finish line, and good times at the Tuesday night crit presented by who is it presented by? TurboVelo. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you next time. Later, guys.